Right, I'm here at the tip of the Staffordshire Peak District, and believe it or not, I'm looking for mermaids. Now, I've actually heard of 4 of these mysterious landlocked pools situated in the high peaks that have legends of mermaid-like cryptids. Now, I think mermaids would indeed be cryptids, as they're not supernatural. They're supposedly living beings, sort of like an aquatic Sasquatch. Now, I know they're only legend and folklore, but it makes you wonder why there are so many of these mysterious deep pools that are miles away from the sea that have tales of these legendary creatures. Why would the local people have tales of such a bizarre creature high in the Peak District? I've found a couple of tales that explain how they supposedly got there, which I'll tell you later. Now, from what I can gather, these legends are probably 300 to 400 years old. The people were very superstitious back then. Like hunter-gatherers, imagine, it does make me wonder how far back into our past these tales go. I can almost imagine like hunter-gatherers roaming around the Peak District landscape after the Ice Age, and they would find these pools intriguing, I'm sure, because it's said that these pools do not flood, they don't dry up in times of drought, and reportedly keep a constant level. Now that alone would have caught their attention for sure. And these pools don't have any obvious streams feeding them, but they don't look stagnant either. Now, many folk tales are very ancient in origin and evolved naturally and instinctively by unconscious processes in oral traditions. So the stories of these mermaids could have been passed down over thousands of years. They are also reputed to be bottomless, and some think that Blackmere and the Doxy Pool, which is close by, are connected by subterranean passages, which definitely adds to the mystery. As you peer into the dark peat-stained waters, looking like a watery black hole, it could seem magical, like the abode of some mysterious creature in a dark fairy tale, some kind of river hag. Now here at Blakemere Pool, located by the roadside, it makes it easy to spot and even easier to visit. It's a real gem of the Peak District, if only for the folklore. There are 2 conflicting legends telling how the mermaid arrived here. The first explains how she was brought here hundreds of years ago by a sailor from a nearby village. A sailor who fell in love with the sea nymph whilst at sea, and brought her to live at the pool so they could be close to each other. Eventually, being a mortal man, he died, and the mermaid slowly became lonely and angrier. And being unable to return to the sea, she became a malignant spirit haunting the lake. Supposedly she's still there today. The second legend is slightly more sinister and tells of a young woman who spurned the advances of a local man named Joshua, and his ego wouldn't let him accept the rejection. So Joshua accused the woman of being a witch, and being a bit of a salesman with a gift of the gab, he managed to convince his fellow townsfolk to drown her in Blackmere Pond, as they did with suspected witches. And with a final dying breath, the young woman muttered a curse, and 3 days later his body was found by the pool, his face covered with claw marks. Weirdly, even today, livestock are said to refuse to drink water from the pool, and birds will never fly across it. The last recorded sighting that I come across was in the mid-19th century, and it was when a group of villagers attempted to drain the lake to see if the pool was indeed bottomless, as it was claimed. Apparently they started digging at the southern end of the pool, where there's still a drainage ditch, you can see it today. and it said that the mermaid appeared from the lake and threatened to flood the nearby town of Leek unless they cease their activities immediately. And there are a few reports of weird pillars of light seen floating above the water at night. It's also known to be a geologically flawed area, which some think may give credit to balls of light reported around the pool. Also, marsh gases could explain it. Now, these marsh gases are known for creating a rare but eerie phenomenon known as will-o'-the-wisp. So these ghostly lights hovering over the pool may have started the legend, thought to be a spectral water nymph. Now, the pool was also the scene of a murder and an attempted murder many years ago. Late into the night, some of the local men drinking at the nearby Cock Inn were discussing the haunted mere, when one sceptic man was dared to visit the pool as a bet. As he drunkenly sauntered down to the pool, he heard the cries of a woman and found a man trying to drown her. Thinking quickly, he shouted, "Here lads, this is the rogue we're wanting," and the would-be murderer, on hearing this, fled, and the distressed woman was saved. Apparently her attacker had seduced her and he'd taken to the pool with the intention of murdering her. And in 1679 a lady peddler was murdered and dumped in Blackmere Pool by a serial killer from Leek. This man had already killed one person and assaulted another in the area before he killed the lady peddler. Now onto the equally mysterious Doxy Pool. It can be found on the path across the top of the Roaches, only about 2 miles from Blakemere Pool, and it's quite a bit smaller, only measuring 49 by 33 feet. And this small pool also seems to keep a steady level whatever the time of year, with no visible tributaries. So due to this fact, many think that this strange body of water is also bottomless. Others say that it's connected to Blakemere via a deep subterranean passage, and it's reputed to be linked by an underground river to the Atlantic Ocean. But its sinister reputation exceeds its diminutive size, as both pools are reputed to house a malignant mermaid. This one is named Jenny Greenteeth, also described as a blue nymph. This would attest to the deep subterranean passage theory, making them both Jenny Greenteeth, I guess. I did read a report that in 1949 a local lady claimed to have witnessed a weird creature emerging from the water just before she was about to take a morning swim. Now, this may have been a figment of her imagination, or a floating branch covered in blanket weed, but there's still a very haunting atmosphere surrounding the mere, and it's easy to imagine that otherworldly creatures lie concealed beneath its surface. Is the mermaid of Blakemere the same mythical creature as Doxy Pool, travelling between the pools through a dark underground tunnel? Now, geological evidence does not seem to support the idea of an adjoining tunnel, but both pools are at roughly the same height above sea level, and both pools weirdly never seem to dry out and have no recognisable tributaries. So the link made between the two pools, is it just a coincidence? Now, apparently local legends suggest that the mermaid is the spirit of an unfortunate woman who drowned in the pool after leaving the path, and she was in thick fog when she stumbled into the pond and was unable to climb out. so her spirit was unable to move on, and she lays in wait for any unwary passers-by. Now, Jenny Greenteeth is not just the name of the mermaid or nymph in Doxey Pool. I've heard of her inhabiting a pool near Robin Hood Stride in Derbyshire, and she's described as a wizened old hag with green skin, long hair and sharp teeth and a putrid smell. It's very likely that Jenny Greenteeth could have been made up in folk tales made up by parents to deter children from venturing too close to the ponds and falling in due to hazardous duckweed, which can look like it's part of the land in the dark. She could be a dark, loathsome cryptid that the ancient people of the area feared, as it was a place used by Celtic tribes for the worship of Brigid, goddess of fertility and motherhood. This would certainly give rise to the legend of a female spirit, and this ancient folklore may have melded together over centuries to create the tales around the two pools. Incidentally, doxy is an archaic term defined as lover, mistress, or even a prostitute. But whether this mysterious atmosphere around the pools is due to the isolated location, the grim waters, or the presence of otherworldly nymph, you decide. Now here we have, amazingly, the third pool in the peaks, and it's appropriately named Mermaid's Pool, and it's situated just below Kinder Scout in the high peaks. It's around 50 metres wide. It's a particularly haunting site set in the craggy barren southern edge of the Peak District. Now this pool was probably a place of ancient Celtic water worship rituals for two main reasons. First, I find quite bizarre, the water is salty. Now they say it's possibly due to it being connected to some underground system to the Atlantic Ocean. It's very peculiar for an inland water, but it definitely suits a mermaid's needs. And the other reason is the nearby waterfall of Kinder Downfall. It often appears to have the mythical quality of water flowing upwards on a blustery day, a phenomenon that our ancestors would have noticed definitely. And it is said to be the highest waterfall in the country. It's from where the Kinder meets the edge of the Moorland Plateau. Well, these waterfalls and solitary pools were often seen as sacred places in the past, each with their own guardian spirits. Very often in folklore it suggests that staring into the waters will grant visions of the future. And as is common with many water spirits, the mermaid has a treacherous nature, either granting eternal life or pulling you under and drowning you. Now, these waters are believed to offer healing qualities to those brave enough to bathe in them, although it's not really recommended for various reasons, and erosion of the banks as well. But for those looking for eternal life, the best time to visit is at midnight during Easter, the only time of the year when the mermaid is said to appear. And if she looks upon you fondly, then she will grant you the gift of immortality, they say. But if you catch her on a bad day, you're buggered. Like the other two pools in the previous bits, it's believed to be bottomless and linked to both the Doxey and Blakemere by this underwater tunnel. But they're not said to be salty like this one. Also, it's said that you won't find any animals near this pool, similar to the other two, for some mysterious reason. They refuse to drink the water, and the birds won't fly over. This adds to the mysterious nature of these pools, and it has led to the vocals to believe that the tales of the mermaid must be true. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it?